This is Abe Pretenzer from Awards Watch, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with Giancarlo Esposito about Better Call Saul. How are you, Giancarlo?
I'm doing great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Absolutely, me too. I feel like this is a rare opportunity that actors get to play this incredible character, have them go out in a real blaze of glory, and then come back years later to get to play the same one.
You know, it is. It's a great way to look at it. You know, we get a chance to be there and be present in a show that was one of the best shows on television ever, and have one of the greatest television deaths ever, and then take a little bit of a break and come back and be poised to be thinking about how to do it differently. For me, that was the big question. How could I create a Gus that you didn't know or that you haven't seen before? And I get reminded by the great creative conversation that I'm able to have with Vince Gilligan every year before I get back to being Gustavo. What is there that's new that we could learn about him? Vince says, hey, remember that what we know about him is what we love and we like. And part of what is intriguing is what we don't know. And so you put all those things together and you think Saul is a prequel, and I have the opportunity to be maybe slightly different, to feather in the nuance of a new and different Gus before you meet him in Breaking Bad.
One of the things that I like most about Gus is the professionalism that he displays at the front business of the chicken fast food place. I just love how he swoops in and always is able to work with customers, even though he's obviously thinking about much grander things.
I think it's Gus's meditation in so many ways, that he's able to carry and hold more than one thought in his brain at one time. Ultimately, he's in service. And I love the juxtaposition of those particular thoughts in his mind. Is everything to your liking? Can I get you a refill? He wants people to be happy and satisfied, of course, with the food, while he has the ability to be looking beyond them to make sure the world is still copacetic in the perch that he sits in, and that there's no danger coming his way. Equally so, he has the ability to be in those moments and to get ideas, to be thinking about, oh, this could happen, that could happen. And when he turns away from that customer smiling, gives them a refill and disappears, you know he's got the answer.
And I like that in this season, we got to see how he needed to have essentially, bodyguards nearby, and the people Mike got him were not up to his culinary standards.
It's a wonderful thing that Gus is always cognizant of the quality of his service and his restaurant and his food. And it doesn't matter who is around him or in his presence, who seem to be bodyguards or working for him. They must be up to a certain standard that he set a high bar, but that he would have for himself. And this is another thing that I absolutely love about Gustavo. If he's not going to eat it, he wouldn't want you to.
I like that. And the scene I'm thinking about most from this, first half of the final season is that opener of him just walking through the tunnel just without saying anything. I feel like some of the best Gus moments are just wordless.
I would agree with you. We say so much as actors, and actors love to act. At least I can qualify it for me that I do. But I notice that I'm also an actor in my walk. I'm also an actor in my expressions without words. As you well know from episode 401, Box Cutter, it was a great exercise for me to think about playwrights who leave the Pinter pause. Harold Pinter would leave a long pause that seemed awkward. And in that awkwardness comes a realness and a truthfulness that is humanity, that is human behavior. And so to me, I learned early on, and it was a practice, and that I had to really focus on and allow myself to be in that awkward space. But what I started to realize was that awkward space is livable. It's inhabitable. And so for me, those are some of the greatest moments for Gus as well. One came back in Breaking Bad where Johan was directing, and I was on an elevator and I was completely still. But I was moving something, and I was testing my own metronome. I was testing my timing, but I was also testing the director to see if he could see what I was doing. And it was so minuscule and so small. And he came onto the elevator and he said, so he was very careful. So this is very good. This is very good. But you're doing something. And I had a slight smirk came to my face. I said, I wondered what you're doing something. I said, oh, am I? He says, yes, yes. You know it, don't you? He said, this thing with your hand, this little tap, tap. I said, yeah, I tapped 8 times. He said, yes, I want to catch that. I want to catch that. I'm going to bring the camera down. So those moments to me are powerful because they exemplify human behavior that we often miss if we're not paying attention.
I think there was also really powerful material with Nacho this season. I have to assume anybody watching now is caught up on the show, and we can talk freely about what's happened. But I think that was very, very powerful. And I think, is it difficult to see Gus in moments like that where he's not necessarily making I don't know if humane is the right word, but the right decision?
Yeah, this season has been wonderful to explore. And I think I've always said, if I'm doing what I do in a way that I would like to, going back to the beginning of Better Call Saul, I would like you to see a more vulnerable, a little less patient, a little nervous Gus. And certainly I didn't have the opportunity to do all of that until this season. It's what I wanted. Because if there's anything I can play, I can play that he's not really sure of himself. Outwardly he is, but inside something's bugging him. And this season it's been Lalo Salamanca, and it's also been how he deals with Nacho. He could have killed Nacho a long time ago. He knew that he kept Nacho around when Nacho did his best to kill Hector Salamanca, and Gus knew that was his opening, that he could use this guy. Very cruel in the way he uses him, but he also respects him on a certain level because the guy really tried hard. But this is a chess game, and Gus is going to play the right moves. So for me, this season has been really wonderful in playing the chink in the armor and playing that he is vulnerable and he could be compromised and he could die. And that's something you've never seen Gus in that position before. So it's been great to feel, again, awkward. Like so as Gustavo, I walk to the set and people are deferential to me because they never can figure out if I'm Gus or Giancarlo on that day. No, right? So they're already a little kind of nervous, right? They think they know me, but then I do something or say something that allows them to see they don't know me at all. And that's Gustavo. And so I choose if I want to interact with someone or not. I'm not mean or nasty. Just leave a lot of space. Because I realize when someone asks you a question, you have a choice. You can feel compelled to answer, or you could just look at them as if you didn't even hear them, or as if their question didn't even matter. And people get nervous. So that's, for me, a wonderful way to leave time and space. And if people are in their own skin, they might say, did you hear me? Did you hear what I said? I heard you. I don't approve. Whatever that answer is. That makes people really kind of weird and irritable. And I like to push people into that place because otherwise, if I feel rushed, even by a director, I realize, wait a minute, I'm just, that's me puppeting myself or the director puppeting me. Did you hear me? I called action. I would just sit there. This happened to me 3 times in the last 8 months. Shake my head. I heard you. Now, right? So it's a matter of me finding my own space and owning it, not trying to control how it's done, but controlling the chaos, the time, and the energy within the scene. That serves me and eventually serves the whole piece.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to ask you for any spoilers for the back half of the final season, but
why not? I'll tell you all of it.
Well, let's do that. That's good. highest rated video on YouTube. Let's do it. Are you satisfied with the arc of Gus? And do you feel, is there any chance that you would come back to play this character again?
Oh, you asked me such an honest question. I'm going to give you a real honest answer. I've never said it. No, I'm not satisfied. Wow, I've never ever said this, but that really is my truth. I love what they've done with this character and with the show, but I'm not satisfied with Gus's arc. No, there's so much more to him. he's so much more complicated than I think we've ever been able to see. So I guess that opens me up for the second question. Of course, I look, the first time around, I said I would never return to Gus because I could see the handwriting on the wall and there's little wiggle room to see what's new. I wanted you to see his family. I wanted you really to see where he came from in Chile. I think that story is fascinating. A guy who was a made man in America, but in Chile, he was probably royalty. And I think he came from a military background. I've talked about this a little in the press before. And he had a very strong father and an absent mother. And he was being groomed and he went, no. And everyone went, oh, you could be our next president, our next military leader, our dictator. And he went, I don't care to. And he left. Now, if that were to be the case, that would, to me, would be really fascinating and interesting. He tells the story of the coyote, you know, the Mexican coyote that he captures and ensnares, who's been eating the fruit off the tree because that's the food that they ate. I mean, it's a fantastic story of lack and not having enough. And he tells that whole story and he keeps that animal. Ooh, cruelty also comes out, you know, he keeps it. Because that was his conquest as a reminder. So a guy who came from that, think of what happened between that and Breaking Bad. Like, how did he get here? How did he do it? So when I come back, you know, every time I finish, I go, no more. But I find that there's still such treasure to mine in this character. And if Vince saw it in his heart, you know, I say it. It's the title of the show is clear to me. It's The Rise of Gus. It's, you know, 13 episodes or maybe just one season, maybe more. But I feel like there's still, because so much has been unsaid, that leaves your imagination to cultivate that history for yourself. It's a perfect, very fertile ground to plant new seeds and to learn more about Gustavo Fring.
Like that, I would definitely watch. I'm sure there are many who would as well. And I think you're also on The Boys, which is airing right now, and The Mandalorian, which I know is coming back soon. These are three shows that strike me as having ridiculously active and passionate fan bases. Do you feel like they're very different, or is there somebody like me, I guess, who watches all three and who's pretty sort of equally enthusiastic?
There are. There certainly is a great amount of crossover. I think that, yes, I feel, first of all, I gotta say, be thankful to all of my fans. I gotta say thank you, because I have fans who are particularly just from Mandalorian who are uber fans, like, and we have an equal amount of uber and super fans for Better Call Saul as well. But there are only a certain amount that really cross over to all shows. I could qualify that as a certain kind of person. And I could use a certain word, but I'll be more polite, although I think that word is fun. I would say that word to me would be very highly intelligent, smart, pithy, and how do I say? There's another word I'm looking for, because the fans that cross all three live in a world of fantasy, also live in a world of brutal reality, and also live in a world that is, in a way, could be very obscure in the comic book world. But now in our world today, because of the crossover and us understanding that comics are a creative journey into another world, you know, look, we have television freaks who are so smart, like so smart, that you have to be careful when you're writing a normal TV show. You got to be smarter than your audience, you know? And how do you do that when you have highly creative and intelligent human beings dissecting a show and almost understanding what's going to happen next and suggesting better than the way you wrote it? You know, like, and so I love the fact that I'm in these three shows that has propelled me to the forefront of television watching today in three different incarnations. I feel like the blessed human being ever. I really do. Judging from, you know, I was just at Star Wars Celebration, and I think I was in tears almost, because the fans, the love that you feel from your fans, I don't know about most actors. Look, I can't go anywhere. People know, I go places, people notice me everywhere. They're either calling out Moff Gideon on the street or Giancarlo Fring, or some people are going, oh man, that's Stan Edgar. That's happening now. Some actors just feel overwhelmed. And I felt from Star Wars Celebration alone, the love that was like vibrating through the room was real. They weren't just freakish fans who wanted to touch you like the Beatles. They were genuine. They were really moved. They were really like, and I went, oh, this is what true fandom is. This is truly what it is. They really admire not only me, but the whole product, the whole piece. And I get comments constantly about people who, were sheltered during pandemic, or who got cancer before pandemic. And it's really a weird thing. 4 times in the last 5 months from people who had said, you saved my life. I said, what are you talking about? Did I do General Hospital? Was I on that show? Or was it ER? No, I didn't do ER. They say, I binged watched Breaking Bad after I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. I was so depressed. It saved my life. Person looks at me and says, I recovered, but that saved my life. And I said, why? They said, because you were tenacious. You were the single character that I loved the most. We all have shows like that we really look up to people. We're able to live our dreams through them, whether they be nefarious dreams or dreams that allow us to soar and be what we didn't think we could be. That's what television is about. Many movies every week that really inspire or allow us the strength and power to be a mirror for others. That's what it's about.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for taking some time to share this perspective with me. And I'm really excited to see what you do next on 3 of the biggest shows on TV.
I'm excited too. And has everyone ever told you, you have the best smile in the whole wide world?
That's very kind. Thank you.
It's the truth. It's been really enjoyable to talk to you, and thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye.